The southern hemisphere is about 80% ocean, while the northern hemisphere is 60% ocean, causing another imbalance. In addition to that, the jet stream determines the path of storms, and there is no way to control that. Greenberg nodded, then hesitated. Do you know why we're here, Mr. Kingsley? Tanner studied Greenberg a moment. I trust that that is a rhetorical question. Otherwise, I would find it offensive. Kingsley International Group is a think tank. 4 of my employees have died or disappeared mysteriously within a period of 24 hours. We have already started our own investigation. We have offices in major cities around the world, with 1,800 employees, and it is obviously difficult for me to keep in contact with all of them. But what I have learned so far is that 2 of the employees who were murdered were apparently involved in illegal activities. It cost them their lives, but I assure you, it is not going to cost Kingsley International Group its reputation. I expect our people to resolve this very quickly. Greenberg spoke up. Mr. Kingsley, there's something else. We understand that 6 years ago a Japanese scientist named Akira Iso committed suicide in Tokyo. 3 years ago a Swiss scientist named Madeleine Smith committed suicide in Tanner interrupted. Zurich. Neither of them committed suicide. They were murdered. The 2 detectives looked at him in surprise. Prijetzer asked, "How do you know that?" There was a hardened tone in Tanner's voice. "They were killed because of me." When you say Akira Iso was a brilliant scientist. He worked for a Japanese electronics conglomerate called Tokyo First Industrial. I met Iso at an international industry convention in Tokyo. We got along well. I felt that KIG could offer him a better atmosphere than the company he was with. I made him an offer to work here, and he accepted. In fact, he was very excited about it. Tanner was fighting to keep his voice steady. We agreed to keep it confidential until he was legally able to leave that company. But he obviously mentioned it to someone, because there was an item about it in a newspaper column, and... Tanner stopped again for a long moment, then went on. The day after the item appeared, Iso was found dead in a hotel room. Robert Prijetzer asked, "Mr. Kingsley, couldn't there have been other reasons that might explain his death?" Tanner shook his head. "No, I didn't believe he committed suicide. I hired investigators and sent them and some of my own people to Japan to try to learn what had happened. They couldn't find any evidence of foul play, and I thought that perhaps I was wrong, that possibly there was some tragedy in Iso's life that I knew nothing about." "Then why are you so sure now that he was murdered?" Greenberg wanted to know. "As you mentioned, a scientist named Madeleine Smith supposedly committed suicide in Zurich, 3 years ago. What you don't know is that Madeleine Smith also wanted to leave the people she worked for and come to our company." Greenberg frowned. "What makes you think the 2 deaths are connected?" Tanner's face was stone. "Because the company she worked for is a branch of the same Tokyo First Industrial." There was a stunned silence. Prijetzer said, "There's something I don't understand. Why would they murder an employee just because she wants to quit? If Madeleine Smith wasn't just an employee, neither was Iso. They were brilliant physicists who were about to solve problems that would have made the company a fortune larger than you can imagine. That's why they didn't want to lose either of them to us. Did the Swiss police investigate Smith's death? Yes. So did we. But again, we could prove nothing. As a matter of fact, we're still working on all the deaths that occurred, and I expect that we will solve them. KIG has far-reaching connections all over the world. If I get any useful information, I will be happy to share it with you. I hope you will reciprocate. Greenberg said, "That's fair enough." A gold-plated phone on Tanner's desk rang. "Excuse me." He walked over to the desk and picked up the phone. "Hello, yes, the investigation's coming along very satisfactorily. As a matter of fact, 2 detectives are in my office at this moment, and they have agreed to cooperate with us." He glanced over at Priejitzer and Greenberg. "Right, I'll let you know when we have any further news." He replaced the receiver. Greenberg asked, "Mr. Kingsley, are you working on anything sensitive here?" "You mean, are we working on something sensitive enough to have half a dozen people murdered?" "Detective Greenberg, there are more than 100 think tanks around the world, some of them working on exactly the same problems we are. We're not building atomic bombs here." The answer to your question is no. The door opened, and Andrew Kingsley walked into the office carrying a stack of papers. Andrew Kingsley bore little resemblance to his brother. His features seemed to be blurred. He had thinning gray hair, a lined face, and he walked in a slightly stooped posture. Whereas Tanner Kingsley was brimming with vitality and intelligence, Andrew Kingsley appeared to be slow-witted and apathetic. He spoke haltingly and seemed to have trouble putting sentences together. "Here are those notes you asked for, Tanner. I'm sorry I didn't finish them earlier." "That's perfectly all right, Andrew." Tanner turned to the 2 detectives. "This is my brother, Andrew." Detectives Greenberg and Priejitzer. Andrew looked at them uncertainly and blinked. "Andrew, do you want to tell them about your Nobel Prize?" Andrew looked at Tanner and said vaguely, "Yes, the Nobel Prize, the Nobel Prize." They watched as he turned and shuffled out of the room. Tanner sighed. "As I mentioned, Andrew was the founder of this company, a truly brilliant man. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for one of his discoveries 7 years ago. Unfortunately, he became involved in an experiment that went wrong and it changed him." His tone was bitter. "He must have been a remarkable man." "You have no idea." Earl Greenberg rose and held out his hand. "Well, we won't take up any more of your time, Mr. Kingsley. We'll keep in touch." "Gentlemen," Tanner's voice was steel. "Let's get these crimes solved fast." Chapter 16. Tanner could not stop brooding about the woman he had thought of as Princess. And the more he thought about how insolent she had been and how she had ridiculed him, the more incensed he became. "We're going to have to improve your line, love. Do you have any idea how trite it is? Are you feeling horny, darling? Get out your little black book and we'll try to find someone who's available for you tonight." It was as though he needed to exorcise her. He decided he would see her once more, to give her the comeuppance she deserved, and then forget about her. ******. Tanner waited 3 days and telephoned. "Princess. Who is this?" He was ready to slam down the phone. How many goddamn men called her princess? He managed to keep his voice calm. "This is Tanner Kingsley." "Oh, yes. How are you?" Her tone was completely indifferent. "I've made a mistake," Tanner thought. "I should never have called her. I thought we could have dinner again sometime, but you're probably busy, so let's forget. What about this evening?" Tanner was caught off guard again. He could not wait to teach the bitch a lesson. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. 4 hours later, Tanner was seated across a table from Paula Cooper at a small French restaurant east of Lexington Avenue. He was surprised by how pleased he was to see her again. He had forgotten how vital and alive she was. "I've missed you, Princess," Tanner said. She smiled. "Oh, I've missed you, too. You're really something. You're very special." They were his words coming back to him, mocking him. Damn her. It looked like the evening was going to be a replay of their last meeting. On Tanner's other romantic evenings, he had always been the one who controlled the conversation. With Princess, he had the unsettling feeling that she was always one step ahead of him. She had a quick comeback for everything he had to say. She was witty and swift and took no nonsense from him. The women Tanner dated were beautiful and willing, but for the first time in his life, Tanner felt that perhaps something had been missing. They had been too easy. They were all agreeable, but they were too agreeable. There was no challenge. Paula, on the other hand? "Tell me about you," Tanner said. She shrugged. "My father was rich and powerful, and I grew up as a spoiled brat. Maids and butlers, waiters to serve us at the swimming pool, Radcliffe, and a finishing school, the whole bit. Then my father lost it all and died. I've been working as an executive assistant to a politician. Are you enjoying it?" "No. He's boring." Her eyes met his. "I'm looking for someone more interesting." Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The next day, Tanner called again. "Princess. I was hoping you would call, Tanner." Her voice was inviting. Tanner felt a small frisson of pleasure. "Were you?" "Yes." "Where are you taking me to dinner tonight?" He laughed. "Anywhere you would like to go." "I'd like to go to Maxim's in Paris, but I'll settle for going anywhere if I can be with you." She had thrown him off guard again, but for some reason, her words warmed him. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. They had dinner at La Côte Basque on 55th Street, and throughout dinner, Tanner kept looking at her and wondering why he was so attracted to her. It was not her looks, it was her mind and personality that were dazzling. Her whole essence blazed with intelligence and self-confidence. She was the most independent woman he had ever known. Their conversations ranged over myriad subjects, and Tanner found her to be remarkably knowledgeable. "What do you want to do with your life, Princess?" She studied Tanner a moment before answering. "I want power, the power to make things happen." Tanner smiled. Then we're a lot alike. How many women have you said that to, Tanner? He found himself getting angry. Will you stop doing that? When I say you're different from any woman I've ever what? Tanner said, exasperated. You frustrate me. Poor darling. If you're frustrated, why don't you go take a shower? The anger started again. He had had enough. He rose. Never mind. There's no use trying to at my place. Tanner could hardly believe what he was hearing. Your place? Yes, I have a little pie date here on Park Avenue, she said. Would you like to take me home? They skip dessert. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The little pie date here was a sumptuous apartment, beautifully furnished. Tanner looked around, amazed at how luxurious it was, and how elegant. The apartment suited her, an eclectic collection of paintings, a refectory table, a large chandelier, an Italian settee, and a set of 6 Chippendale chairs and a couch. That was all that Tanner had time to see before she said, "Come see my bedroom." The bedroom was done in white, with all white furniture, and a large mirrored ceiling over the bed. Tanner looked around and said, I'm impressed. This is the most shh. Paula began to undress him. We can talk later. When she had finished undressing Tanner, she started slowly taking off her own clothes. She had a body that was erotic perfection. Her arms were around Tanner and she was pressed against him, and she put her lips to his ear and whispered, "That's enough foreplay." They were in bed and she was ready for him, and when he was inside her, she squeezed her hips and thighs tightly together and then relaxed them, and squeezed again and repeated it, getting Tanner more and more excited. She kept shifting her body slightly, so that each sensation was different for him. She gave him voluptuous gifts he had never imagined, stimulating him to an ecstatic pitch of excitement. Much later, they talked far into the night. They were together every evening after that. Princess was constantly surprising Tanner with her humor and charm, and gradually, in his eyes, she had become beautiful. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. One morning, Andrew said to Tanner, "I've never seen you smile so much. Is it a woman?" Tanner nodded. Yes. Is it serious? Are you going to marry her? I've been thinking about it. Andrew regarded Tanner for a moment. Maybe you should tell her. Tanner squeezed Andrew's arm. Maybe I will. The following night, Tanner and Princess were alone in her apartment. Tanner began, "Princess, you once asked me to say to you something I had never said to a woman before." "Yes, darling. Here it is. I want you to marry me." There was a moment's hesitation, and she grinned and flew into his arms. "Oh, Tanner." He looked into her eyes. "Is that a yes?" "I want to marry you, darling, but I am afraid we have a problem." "What problem?" "I told you. I want to do something important. I want enough power to make things happen, to change things. And the root of that is money. How can we have a future together if you don't have a future?" Tanner took her hand. "There's no problem. I own half of an important business, Princess. One day I'm going to make enough money to give you everything you want. She shook her head. No. Your brother, Andrew, tells you what to do. I know all about you too. He won't let the company grow, and I need more than you can give me now. You're wrong. Tanner reflected a moment. I want you to meet Andrew. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The three of them had lunch the following day. Paula was charming, and it was obvious that Andrew liked her immediately. Andrew had been worried about some of the women his brother had been taking out. This one was different. She was personable and intelligent and witty. Andrew looked over at his brother, and his nod meant good choice. Paula said, I think that what Kingsley Group is doing is wonderful, Andrew, helping so many people around the world. Tanner's told me all about it. I'm grateful that we can do it. And we're going to do even more. You mean the company's going to expand? Not in that sense. I mean that we're going to send more people to more countries where they can be helpful. Tanner said quickly, then we'll start to get contracts for assignments here, and Andrew smiled. Tanner is so impatient. There's no hurry. Let's do what we were meant to do first, Tanner. Help others. Tanner looked over at Princess. Her expression was non-committal. The next day, Tanner telephoned. Hi, Princess. What time should I pick you up? There was a moment of silence. Darling, I'm so sorry. I can't keep our date tonight. Tanner was caught by surprise. Is anything wrong? No, a friend of mine is in town and I have to see him. Him. Tanner felt a pang of jealousy. I understand. Then tomorrow night we'll know. I can't tomorrow. Why don't we make it Monday? She was going to spend the weekend with whoever it was. Tanner hung up, worried and frustrated. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Monday night, Princess apologized. I'm sorry about the weekend, darling. It's just that this is an old friend who came to town to see me. Into Tanner's mind flashed a picture of Princess's beautiful apartment. There was no way she could afford that on a salary. Who is he? I'm sorry. I can't tell you his name. He's too well known and he doesn't like publicity. Are you in love with him? She took Tanner's hand and said softly, Tanner, I'm in love with you. And only you. Is he in love with you? She hesitated. Yes. Tanner thought, I have to find a way to give her everything she wants. I can't lose her. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The next day, at 4:58 a.m., Andrew Kingsley was awakened by the sound of his ringing telephone. I have a call for you from Sweden. Hold on, please. A moment later, a voice with a slight Swedish accent said, Congratulations, Mr. Kingsley. The Nobel Committee has chosen you to receive the Nobel Prize in Physics for this year, for your innovative work in nanotechnology. The Nobel Prize. When the conversation was over, Andrew hurriedly dressed and went straight to his office. The minute Tanner arrived, Andrew rushed to tell his brother the news. Tanner threw his arms around him. The Nobel. That's wonderful, Andrew. Wonderful. And it was. Because now all of Tanner's problems were about to be solved. 5 minutes later, Tanner was talking to Princess. Do you see what this means, darling? Now that Kingsley Group has a Nobel Prize, we can get all the business we can handle. I'm talking about big government contracts and huge corporations. I'll be able to give you the world. That's fabulous, darling. Will you marry me? Tanner, I want to marry you more than anything in the world. When Tanner replaced the receiver, he was euphoric. He hurried into his brother's office. Andrew, I'm getting married. Andrew looked up and said warmly, that's good news. When is the wedding? We'll set it up soon. The whole staff will be invited. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. When Tanner went into his office the following morning, Andrew was waiting for him. He was wearing a boutonniere. What's that for? Andrew grinned. I'm getting ready for your wedding. I'm so happy for you. Thank you, Andrew. The news spread quickly. Since the wedding had not been officially announced, no one said anything to Tanner, but there were knowing looks and smiles. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Tanner went into his brother's office. Andrew, with the Nobel, everybody will be coming to us. And with the prize money, Andrew interrupted. With the prize money, we can afford to hire more people to send to Eritrea and Uganda. Tanner said slowly, but you're going to use this award to build up this business, aren't you? Andrew shook his head. We're doing just what we set out to do, Tanner. Asterisk asterisk. Tanner telephoned her as soon as he had made his decision. Princess, I have to go to Washington on business. You may not hear from me for a day or two. She said teasingly, no blondes, brunettes, or redheads. No chance. You're the only woman in the world I'm in love with. And I'm in love with you. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The following morning, Tanner Kingsley was at the Pentagon, meeting with the Army Chief of Staff, General Alan Barton. I thought your proposal was very interesting, General Barton said. We were discussing whom we were going to use for the test. Your test involves micro-nanotechnology, and my brother just got a Nobel Prize for his work in it. We are well aware of that. He is so excited about this that he would like to do it pro bono. We're flattered, Mr. Kingsley. We don't have many Nobel laureates offering their services. He looked up to make sure the door was closed. This is top secret. If it works, it's going to be one of the most important components of our armament. Molecular nanotechnology can give us control of the physical world at the level of individual atoms. Until now, efforts to make ships even smaller than they are have been blocked by the electron interference called crosstalk, when electrons are uncontrolled. If this experiment is successful, it will give us significant new defense weapons and attack weapons. Tanner said, there's no danger to this experiment, is there? I don't want anything to happen to my brother. You need not worry. We will send over all the equipment you need, including the safe suits and 2 of our scientists to work with your brother. Then we have a go-ahead. You have a go-ahead. On his way back to New York, Tanner thought, now all I have to do is convince Andrew. Chapter 17. Andrew was in his office, looking at a colorful booklet that the Nobel Committee had sent him, along with a note, "We're looking forward to your arrival." There were pictures of the huge Stockholm concert hall, with the audience applauding a Nobel laureate as he walked across the stage to receive his award from King Carl XVI Gustav of Sweden. And soon I'll be up there, Andrew thought. The door opened and Tanner walked in. "We have to talk." Andrew set the booklet aside. "Yes, Tanner." Tanner took a deep breath. "I've just committed Kingsley Group to assist the army in an experiment they're conducting." "You what?" "The test involves cryogenics. They need your help." Andrew shook his head. "No, I can't get involved in that, Tanner. This isn't the sort of thing we're doing here. This isn't about money, Andrew. This is about the defense of the United States of America. It's very important to the Army. You'd be doing this for your country. Pro bono. They need you." Tanner spent another hour persuading him. Finally, Andrew gave in. "All right. But this is the last time we get off the track, Tanner." "Agreed." Tanner smiled. "Agreed. I can't tell you how proud I am of you. Asterisk asterisk asterisk." He called Princess and left a message on her voicemail. "I'm back, darling. We have a very important experiment coming up. I'll call you when it's over. I love you. Asterisk asterisk asterisk." 2 Army technicians arrived to brief Andrew on the progress they had made so far. Andrew had been reluctant at first, but as they discussed the project, Andrew became more and more excited. If the problems could be solved, it would be a major breakthrough. An hour later, Andrew watched as an army truck drove through the gates of Kingsley Group, escorted by 2 army staff cars, carrying armed soldiers. He went out to meet the colonel in charge of the cutter. "Here it is, Mr. Kingsley. What do we do with it?" "I'll handle it from here," Andrew said. "Just unload it and we'll take over." "Yes, sir." The colonel turned to 2 soldiers standing at the rear of the truck. "Let's unload it. And be careful. I mean very careful." The men reached inside the truck and gingerly brought out a small, heavy-duty metallic carrying case. Within minutes, 2 staff assistants were carrying the case into a laboratory, under Andrew's supervision. "On that table," he said, very gently. He watched as they set it down. "Fine. One of us could have carried it. It's very light. You wouldn't believe how heavy it is," Andrew told them. The 2 assistants looked at him, puzzled. "What?" Andrew shook his head. "Never mind." 2 expert chemists, Perry Stanford and Harvey Walker, had been selected to work on the project with Andrew. The two men had already donned the heavy protective suits that were required for the experiment. "I'll get suited up," Andrew said. "Be right back." He walked down the corridor to a closed door and opened it. Inside were racks holding full chemical gear resembling spacesuits, along with gas masks, goggles, special shoes, and heavy gloves. Andrew walked into the room to put on his suit, and Tanner was there to wish him luck. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. When Andrew returned to the laboratory, Stanford and Walker were waiting. The three men meticulously sealed the room so that it was airtight, then carefully secured the door. They could all feel the excitement in the air. "All set?" Stanford nodded. "Ready." Walker said, "Ready." "Masks." They donned their protective gas masks. "Let's begin," Andrew said. He cautiously lifted the lid from the metallic box. Inside were 6 small vials fitted snugly into protective cushions. "Be careful," he warned. "These genies are 222 degrees below zero." His voice was muffled by the gas mask.